Yes, we are recording this thing. Thank you. So the webinar has been recorded and also the slides. Both of the webinar and the slides will be posted, inshallah, on our site. If you go to Academy for Learning Islam, academyofislam.com, just go to course number 411A, and you'll get, inshallah, the slides and the recording, inshallah, by tomorrow or the after. So for today, what we are planning is, first of all, let's ask this question: what is Hajj, right? Now, people say Hajj is annual pilgrimage or major pilgrimage. I would prefer using major pilgrimage because Hajj is wajib once in the lifetime. There are those who try to go to Hajj every year, which is also good because in the month of Ramadan we just completed, we were praying every night, Allahumma zukni hajja baytika haram fi ami hadha wa fi kulli am. Oh Allah, grant me that I perform the Hajj this year and also all the years. So there are people who can afford and go every year. But what is wajib is once in the lifetime. And in fact, there are people who may be going to Hajj this year, perhaps they would not be able to go again. So it is important that we consider this as a major pilgrimage once in the lifetime. Even if you are planning to go next year and the year after that, but you should know the first Hajj is wajib. Whatever will follow will be either mustab or niyabat or perhaps no mafi zimma. So it is important that when you are going for the first time, you prepare yourself well. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Al Imran, which is Surah number 3, ayat 97 says, وَلِلَّهِ عَلَى النَّاسِ حِجُّ الْبَيْتِ مَنِ اسْتَطَاعَ إِلَيْهِ سَبِيلًا. Allah says that in pilgrimage to the house is a duty unto Allah for all people, and those who can afford, right? مَنِ اسْتَطَاعَ إِلَيْهِ سَبِيلًا. So it is important that this istita'at is important. In other words, when we say istita'at, that means whoever is able to go. And this means you have the financial ability, your health is good, there are no restrictions, for example, for you to go. When you are, inshallah, you'll get the visa, your health, permission from the work, all those things will be considered istita'ah. Not only that, you are going to take care of your members, family members who depend on you. So if you can do this, all those things, then you are mustati. That means you are an able person. One of the most important pillars of Islamic devotion is Hajj. It involves traveling to Mecca in Saudi Arabia and spending a few days there in order to participate in various religious devotions. Now, it is important that Hajj just requires to go to Mecca. Yes, we also go to Medina, as you will see that our slides will discuss a lot about Medina, but going to Mecca is wajib. Medina is highly recommended, but it's not part of the Hajj. So keep that in mind. For any reason, for example, you could not go to Medina, or your time does not permit you. For any reason, of course, you will be sorry about that, but there is nothing wrong as far as the legality is concerned. Your Hajj is okay, is fine. Every Muslim who is financially and physically able to make pilgrimage to Mecca must perform this once in his or her lifetime. So that is what Hajj is. And of course, this is by the house here, the Quran is referring to Kaaba. When Allah says, وَلِلَّهِ النَّاسِ حَجُّ الْبَيْتِ, al-bayt here means refers a Kaaba, right? And of course, this is a cubical structure in Makkah. So this is just as far as what Hajj is. Now let's go and see what we are going to plan to cover this morning. We only have 1 hour, so perhaps we may not be able to cover all those things. But the good thing is that all these slides, 34, 36 slides, altogether 36 slides, will be posted on our site, so you can later on refer to them. Not only that, perhaps you can even download on your tablets or your phone, and you can take them with you to Hajj. We have no problem. This will be posted on our site in a PDF format, and you can download them. Why prepare for Hajj? Some people believe that since I'm going with a caravan, with a kafila, so the organizers will take care of it. Why bother about that? We'll discuss about it, why it is important. Preparation before Hajj, right? Departure. Essential things to be done during the trip. Ziyarat of Medina, significance and recitations. In this webinar, we'll try to cover certain things which we have seen are not covered in other by other scholars during their what presentations when they go there. Alhamdulillah, I have been to Hajj a number of times, and we have attended a number of what presentations during the Hajj by different scholars. They concentrate on the masails, which is important. But there are certain things we believe that also need to be covered, and that's what we are trying to cover in this webinar. Things needed at the holy places, right? Spiritual benefits of ziyarat and umrah. Zikr during umrah. Umrah and tamattu, the basic laws, if we reach there. I'm not sure because the number of slides we were preparing this morning, we may not reach till there, but in case if need be, we'll discuss about it. Outside ziyarat in Makkah, and requirements for the second umrah, that means umrah, you know, umrah tamattu. There's umrah tamattu and umrah hajj, right? And the question and answer. We'll give some time for question and answer session, inshallah. But the last two part, no, requirements for second umrah or umrah tamattu outside ziyarat Makkah, perhaps these will be covered by your group leaders. So we may not reach there because of the time. We have only 1 hour to cover this thing. But inshallah, during question and answer session, we can discuss certain things. Before departing, before we go for Hajj, it is important that we are mentally and spiritually prepared. What do we mean by mentally? We mean that, in fact, make sure that you are prepared well. It's not that, for example, you are so busy with your work, with your business, with your studies, or anything else, that until the last moment you have not prepared yourself. And then suddenly you just fly off to Mecca or Medina or to Jeddah, right? That should not be the case. Make sure that you prepare yourself, you know what you are doing, what you are getting into it, everything which is required. So you're mentally prepared, psychologically prepared, spiritually prepared also. That you know exactly this is a very special trip. It's not like any other trip. It's not, for example, just going on a trip. Yes, it's once in a lifetime, but this is a spiritual trip. Everything here to do is that it's a religious trip, and how we conduct ourselves whilst we are going during the trip and when we are there. It's very important, as we'll discuss inshallah as we make sure that you have got your last will and testament ready. Now this is required all the time, but more so if you are going for Hajj. When you are on Hajj, make sure that you have your last will and testament. There's a very good book, Writing an Islamic Will, 7th edition by Maulana Sayyid Ahmad Rizvi. So those of you who are in GTA, you can get a copy from JCC bookstore. Otherwise, perhaps you can contact, just go to jafri.org and just email Maulana's email is there. He can perhaps send you a PDF format, or perhaps even post to you if you are if you're not very far. But this book is important. It will help you to prepare. Now you can see Writing an Islamic Will, 7th edition by Maulana Muhammad Rizvi. Free from people's rights and opportunity. Even if you go to our site, academyofislam.com, under services, there are sample of wills you can download from there. Both sample which we have prepared and also Maulana Rizvi has prepared. You can download those samples and make your will ready. If you go to our site, academyofislam.com, and under services. Make sure that we are free from people's rights. Hajj is the best opportunity, brothers and sisters, to free yourself from people's rights. In other words, for example, because we work with people, sometimes we disagree. Not only with people, even at home, with your spouse, with your family members. All the time there are disagreements, right? This is the right time to say, okay, please forgive me. Yes, we have differences, we disagree, we do things differently, but I am heading for a pilgrimage, which is a religious trip, and I would like to seek forgiveness. And invariably, you'll find that people will be just ready to say, okay, go and have a safe trip. I wish you all the best. I'm nothing against you. But this is the right time. Have that courage to write an email, pick up the phone, or if somebody is within in your town, go and visit him. That I'll be visiting, I'm going for Hajj and Ziyarat, Medina. I request you to please forgive me. Yes, we've had differences, we do things differently, but I would really like to go with a clean slate. So this is the best time. Please do that. Have that courage to do that. Read good religious literature and lectures. There are very many lectures nowadays. MashaAllah, we are not the only group. There are many other groups which also conduct webinars, seminars, lectures, right? Try to gather those things on your phone or just on your MP3 and try to listen to them. These are really good. This will help you. Also, read literature. It's also important that we read. Nowadays, the culture of reading is decreasing on account of phone and WhatsApp and other things. Now, try to read also. There are some good literature you can read. Some of the books which we recommend, there are many books, of course, but few things we should try to have it. One is, of course, there is a book, this book, I don't know how many of you seen, is Hajj and Umrah made easy. This is according to the fatwa of Ayatollah Sistani, again translated by Sayyid Muhammad Rizvi. Try to get a copy of that. There was a time we had the copy, the Masail part on our site. I'll see if it's there. We'll try to post there. No, otherwise, if you try to get old files, we'll try to repost them. Otherwise, try to get it. No, this is a good book. It will be a good companion. Try to keep it with you. Then another book which we would recommend is Rights of Makkah and Medina. It's a very good book. In fact, this was recommended to us by Sheikh Muhammad Ali Shamali. Many of you know Sheikh Shamali, you heard about his name. He's the one who recommended this thing, and since then, we have kept this one copy. It's a very good book. It's published by Ansarian Publications. So somebody, if any of your friend is coming from Qum, you are going to meet in Makkah or Medina, perhaps you can ask him or her to bring for your copy. Now, this is also a good book. And of course, the third book, which is also good, is Adabul Haramain. It has all the ziyarat and all the dua, right, which you require. Adabul Haramain. Again, this is published by Ansarian Publication. You can get a copy for yourself. So these are some of the three books which I would recommend. You should have them with you. A book which is worth reading is 1000 Roads to Makkah by Michael Wolff. You can get a paperback copy from Amazon. 1000 Roads to Makkah. It's very important that if you try to have a copy of this, it's quite interesting read. It will show you that how over 1000 years the Hajj has evolved. MashaAllah, nowadays, compared to what people used to go, nowadays Hajj is so easy. It's just like, a quick trip, right? But that was not the case. In olden days, it would take 6 months or even more. In fact, people going for Hajj was almost that they would not come back. The way they would depart and they would bid farewell to their family members as if they would never come back, because so often people would die because of either robbery or sickness or some kind of accidents. But that's not the case nowadays. But at least if you read this book, it will be a good reading. Arrange support for the dependents. If somebody depends on you, your spouse, your children, your parents, or anybody whom you are taking care, make sure that you have taken care of that. That's better than you reach there and then you get a telephone call or a text message and then you start worrying about that. No. In fact, the best thing is that once you are there, just try to only once tell them that you reach safely and then switch off your phone, or just don't bother about that, because that way you can concentrate in your ibadat. Men folk, this is very important. Brothers who are there listening to us, it is our experience that those who have never been to Hajj and they've never worn ihram, they really find it challenging there. I know a case of somebody that when he wore the ihram for the first time, throughout Umrah Tamattu, that means during Tawaf, during Sa'i, and all those time, his only worry was how to keep his ihram, how to hold his ihram. Nothing else. He could not concentrate anything. So it is important that you practice wearing ihram at your home, the way you are supposed to. That means just 2 pieces of cloth without wearing anything underneath, right? That kind of practice, do it. So when you are there, at least you know what you are doing. This is very important. Our experience shows that these are important things to do. The next slide. We need 3 P's. I say always, advise to people who are with me during Hajj. Allah says in Quran, Surah Al-Baqarah, ayat 45, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, وَاسْتَعِينُوا بِالصَّبْرِ وَالصَّلَاةِ إِنَّهَا لَكَبِيرَةٌ إِلَّا عَلَى الْخَاشِعِينَ. Right? Allah says, seek help through patience and prayers. Truly, it is hard except for the humble ones. Right? So yes, we need prayers, we need patience and perseverance. Sabr can be both translated as patience and perseverance. You try to pray all the time that may Allah give you the ability, to complete the Hajj. May Allah give you good health. May Allah give you the required patience. May Allah give you the required sincerity. No, may Allah give you the required attention and focus. All those things are very important. So those prayers are required. Practice patience. You are going to come across people who would be of different background. Their education level is different than yours. Their language, their ethnicity, their ways of doing things are different than yours. But they are fellow Muslims. Maybe they are far better than us, right? On account of sincerity, on account of the trouble they've taken to reach that stage until they go for Hajj. You'll be surprised. Some villages in Africa and Asia, you'll find a person, the whole village would get together and gather the finance required, right? And after that, they will just try to cast a ballot and pick up the person who will go. So you can imagine from the entire village, one or two people can go. And that is also after the entire village has saved money for many years. So it's not like, for example, people who go from the West that they, for example, give $8,000, $7,000, $10,000, which they can afford, many of us, and go. So a person who has gone through all those challenges, right? For that person, his Hajj is different than my Hajj, right? Because of his trouble he has taken and the sincerity. So yes, but still he may be different than me. So I need that patience to be able to interact with that person who may act differently, who may behave differently. So please try to always pray to Allah to have that patience with other people. Whatever they say or do, it's very wrong. For example, so often people go for Hajj, and if you are pushed by some black person from Nigeria, or from, for example, by Iranian, or by a person from Indonesia, because Indonesia is the biggest Muslim country when it comes to population, right? More than 200 million Muslims live in Indonesia. So more than 100,000 Indonesians are there during Hajj. So when you're performing your tawaf or sa'i, you'll come across them, a lot of them. Maybe one of them pushed you, not deliberately. And you, through because of lack of patience, you say, all Indonesians are like that. We can't do that. Just on account of one Nigerian or one Indonesian or Iranian, we blame all of them. That shows lack of patience on our side. So please make sure that we do not do those things, right? A lot of zikr is important, that as we are there, stop gossiping. Don't waste your time. Either we do the wajibat which are required, or we rest, or we are always doing zikr. This is the holiest trip of your life, right? It's very important. So try to spend a lot of time in doing zikr, tasbih, istighfar, right? So it is important that we do this thing. Whatever you know, for example, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa Muhammad, astaghfirullah rabbi wa atubu ilayh, or subhanallahi walhamdulillahi wa la ilaha illallah wallahu akbar, or la hawla wa la quwwata illa billahi al-ali al-azim. Or for example, dua of Nabi Yunus, la ilaha illa anta subhanaka inni kuntu min al-zalimin. Some of this zikr, just memorize them and try to recite again and again. I can assure you, experience have shown us that the zikr said again and again, until that time that you internalize the zikr within your psyche, it really helps. You'll become humble, and all the time your focus will be only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Just because you have been saying the zikr knowingly and with an intention to internalize, right? So it is important. Good reading, as we said, on board. When you are flying, some of us, for example, those who are flying from North America, New York, Toronto, Chicago, any place, Vancouver, for example, far off, right? Until all the time that you reach Medina or Jeddah, you must be flying for hours, many hours, right? During that time, I know you get tired. So some of us, for example, just watch those film. This is not the time. Whenever you fly, other times you can do those things. Whatever it's a good documentary, good film, good movie, but not this time when you are going for Hajj. This is the time, either take a rest because you will the body requires, do zikr, listen to good lecture, right, or du'as or Quran in your MP3, such that you don't disturb anybody. But this is not the time to watch those movies and those documentaries. Take a good rest whenever you can. It's important that once you reach there in Medina, once you reach in Makkah, right, you'll find that you'll be so busy sometimes, especially night time is the best time to spend in the Haram, both in Medina and Makkah, right? So what happens that you'll find you get less rest because there are people who will be sleeping in the daytime, there are people who will be awake in the daytime. So if you keep awake at night and rest in the daytime, you may be disturbed because you won't have the room to yourself. So you'll notice that you get less rest. So it's better that you rest earlier and go there and be prepared. Train yourself to be humble, tawadu, right? Imam al-Islams, we are told the second Imam, the third Imam, they would walk to Mecca from Medina. Now you'll see, notice this time, if you are going to drive from Medina to Mecca, which takes about 6 to 7 hours or even more depending on the traffic and how many times you are stopped by the security and immigration, everything. But it's easily 5 6 hours in the buses today. During those times, there were no buses. They would go, for example, on a ride, whether it is a horse or a camel, right? Imam would walk all that distance. Imagine, not that they could not afford, just to show that humility because they are going in the presence of Allah, right? Metaphorically, of course, Allah is everywhere there, but this is the house of Allah. So to be humble is very important throughout this trip. And that's one of the best things we are going to learn. Humility and humbleness is the best lesson learned at Hajj. Believe me. We go to the next slide. Now, this is something which we have seen people missing out. Many groups which have, for example, forums and webinars and seminars and lectures before Hajj, certain things they don't seem to be covering. I'm not sure why it is so. Maybe it is believed that people know about it. But our experience is that not everybody is aware what to do when we have to say prayers on board. Some of us who travel, for example, from Orlando or from Toronto or from Chicago or from New York, right, all the way to, let's say, a point in the Middle East in Dubai or Doha or Istanbul. That's a long flight. You're talking of at least 12, 13 hours of flight, right? Those are long flights. Of course, during those time, namaz time will enter and end, right? So you have no choice but to say your prayers there. So what do we do? So for the next 2-3 slides, we'll discuss about that. Do we need to say prayers on board or can we do qada upon arrival? This is the question people ask. Some people are of the opinion, wrong, it's just a misconception. They say Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is fully aware of my situation. In that case, I want to say my prayers, but I'm not feeling comfortable to say my prayers on board. Maybe I don't have all the means. I'm not parked, for example. I became najis. My clothes became najis. Whatever the reason. So what I'll do, I'll go when I reach, safely in Jeddah or Medina or Mecca or for example, Istanbul, when I've got, for example, some time, I'll just say my prayers there. But why bother on board? After all, Allah knows my situation. This is a wrong understanding of things. Honestly, ask any scholar, they'll tell you, no, that's not the case. So this is the masala, right? If you are scheduled to arrive at your destination, whatever the destination is, for example, if you are flying from Orlando to New York, for example, that's the first destination. Or for example, you are flying from Toronto to Dubai, that's your first destination before you go continue, right? Or if you are flying, for example, Vancouver to Toronto, all those things. So if you are arriving at your destination early enough to go through the security, nowadays there's a lot of security, right? Because of all these requirements, restrictions. You can go through your security, perform your wudu, you can find the Qibla place in the place of prayers. If you have all this time, you are confident that you have the time, then of course say your prayers at the destination. If the namaz is not, otherwise you need to say your namaz on board. So again, for example, let's say that I'm flying out of Vancouver into Toronto, right, around say 1 p.m. and I'm going to reach Toronto say 8 p.m. So if you are going to reach Toronto 8 p.m. before Zohr Asr gets namaz gets qaza, and you have all the time that by the right time you reach Toronto, you're able to go through the security, you're able to do wuzu and find the place. All the time is enough before Asr gets qaza. Then of course I don't have to say my prayers on board. I can say my prayers in Toronto when I reach. But can you say namaz on board again? Yes, the moment the namaz time enters, you can do that. But if you are confident of reaching destination and there is enough time before it gets qaza, then fine. Otherwise, you have no choice. For example, if I reach Toronto, it's already 9 p.m. No, by that time, oh, namaz is qaza, Zohr Asr, right? Long, it's qaza. So in that case, and I left at 1 p.m., the namaz had not started time. Namaz was 1:30, for example, right? When I left Vancouver, it was 1:30. But by the time I reach Toronto, it's already Maghrib time. So my time of Zohr Asr started when I was on board and ended whilst I was on the plane. In that case, I must say my prayers on board. I have no choice. Okay. Let's look at the next masayas. Say Qasr Salat on board except if you are a frequent traveler. If you are a frequent traveler whereby you travel a lot in different places, your work involves traveling to different parts of the world, then you are known as what is known as Kathirus Safar. In that case, you will say full namaz. No. Otherwise, you will say Qasr prayers. Now, why do I say Qasr prayers? Because most of the time, you will not say your prayers until that time that you take on the when the plane takes off, right? And when now, for example, they say now you can just you don't need the belt, right? Tying off your belt. So in that place, at that time, for example, you can now stand up and say your prayers or go and do wudu. So at that time, by that time, you're already out of your city, هذا ترخص. By the time, for example, when the plane takes off, and until that time, there is a sign that, okay, now you can remove your belt, it is already you're out of the city. So you say your qasr namaz. When traveling, it is advisable to maintain tahara, purity of your body and clothes till at least prayer time. Now, again, keep this in mind. We say it's advisable. So if possible, that as you start your journey, until that time that your prayer time comes on board, until that time, try to maintain your tahara. If you have the ability to keep your wudu, then keep your wudu, right? Try to make sure that if you have to go to the washroom, then you purify yourself so that your clothes not become najis, or your parts of body doesn't become najis. So take due care. Until that time that you said your prayers, you are tahir. That's important. It's right. For those who can retain their wudu for longer time, it is advisable to perform the wudu with the niyat of qurbatan ilallah earlier. That means some people don't like performing wudu, in the washrooms which are so tight and small in size and the or board, right? Whatever it is reason. So why don't you just perform wudu whilst you are about to board your plane at the airport? And if you can maintain your wudu, now some people can, especially young people. Elder people sometimes cannot. They have their challenges, right? As you get older and become senior, there are certain challenges. So if you can retain wudu, then just do wudu just the niyat of qurbatillah. And once you started your trip and the namaz time arrives, you can use the same wudu. There is no need to renew the wudu. One can, of course, perform wudu on board also. There's nothing wrong in performing wudu on board. Wudu can be performed using spray bottle whilst you are sitting on your seat there, or washrooms. Now, how do you perform wudu on spray bottle? Just go to Google. Just Google and just type performing wudu with spray bottle. And there is a video of ours, a small clip, which shows how to perform wudu using spray bottle. ensure that the prayer time has begun before you say your prayers. Now, how do you know that? Now, nowadays there is a halal trip. If you go to halal trip, you can download an app, right? Which gives you, or you can just put your timings there, and it will give you an idea that if you are going to fly on this flight at this time, then by this time, you, for example, your next prayer time would arrive. So this really helps. But always take precaution. For example, let's say it will ask you at what time you depart your city. If you're departing from Toronto or New York, right? And if your flight has been delayed, then make sure that accordingly you adjust the time. Because it's assuming that your flight is started on time. If your flight was delayed, then these prayers will not automatically change. Keep that in mind. In this app, Halal Trip app, if you use, and if you, for example, put your timings of start, and your direction, so make sure that you make adjustment. In any case, always take precaution and take some time, right? It is face completely towards direction of Qibla. When you say Takbir Ihram, the first takbir, it is important to up, face towards Qibla and say Allah Akbar. Now, how do you determine Qibla whilst you are flying? Again, there are three things, right? 2.0, 3.0. One is that use of app. This app, Halal Trip, also, once you print out, for example, the timings for your prayers during your trip, it also gives you directions. As you are sitting on your seat, where are you? People who are flying from North America to the Middle East or even to Europe invariably are facing Qibla, because what happens is that they fly towards north all the time. So that way, you know that you are facing Qibla. But otherwise, make sure that you try to find. The second thing is the TV screens in some of the flights, for example, Emirates, Saudi, or Iran Air, maybe Qatar Airlines, or even perhaps Emirates or other flights. I'm not sure, or even Turkish Airline. They show the direction of Qibla on their TV screens, so you can use that. No. The third thing, of course, you can just ask the crew. Tell the crew to go and talk to the captain and say which is the direction of Qibla. And whatever they tell you, you can follow that, right? Number four, do not be concerned about the change direction. When you start your prayer, at that time you face Qibla, right? And then as you are saying prayers, the plane must have moved slightly. Don't be worried about that. What you need to do is that when you start the next prayer, at that time, just check again you are facing Qibla. So keep this in mind. Otherwise, whilst you are traveling, whilst you are saying your prayers, if there's a movement of the direction by the plane, they should not bother you. No, you can just continue your prayers. If possible, observe all qiyam, ruku, sajda, and qu'ud positions as required in salat. In other words, where possible. Now, mind it, the word possible is very important here. Use the exit rows or in designated prayer places. For example, in Muslim airlines like Saudi or even Qatar Airlines or even I believe Iran Airlines, there are places whereby you can say prayers. There's a section you can go there, right? So that's fine. Or exit rows. If you are sitting in an exit row, now I know nowadays it's difficult to get exit row, but the good thing is you can buy your seat in advance, exit row. Even if you have to pay extra dollars, that will be fine. There's nothing wrong with it. So exit row, there's enough place. Although you're not the only one who's sitting, there are also others who are sitting. If you are sitting with your family, then the entire family is there. They understand. But if you are the only one, then make sure that other passengers who are sitting next to you, explain to them. Let them know that you will be saying your prayers, and they know. Otherwise, they'll be alarmed. And nowadays, because of Islamophobia, they make a report, right? And you can be in difficulty. So keep this in mind where possible. If not, many ulama believe, for example, Sayyid Muhammad Rizvi here in Toronto believes that the best thing is just at the time of Takbir Haram, you just stand up, face Qibla, and then just sit on your seat. Don't worry about that. No, just say your prayers while sitting on your seat. So this is also fine. Otherwise, rising and facing towards Qibla during Takbir Haram, say your prayers, and then just use. So you put an assigned seat, whatever seat you've been assigned, just sit there. Use gestures, ishara, to determine the four positions in salat. For example, just sitting straight as in lieu of qiyam. Slightly tilting is for qu'ud, right? That means sitting. More bending is for ruku, and then more bending is for sajda. So you can just use those different kind of gestures. For example, standing straight is qiyam. Slightly bending is qu'ud, that means sitting. More bending is ruku, and slightly more bending is sajda. You can do that. These are known as ishara, right? And say your prayers. And as you are doing this, which kind of zikr, different kind of zikr. Scholars differ on whether one should say the prayers in the aisle, washrooms, and serving corner sections, or confined to saying prayers in designated seats. Some scholars are adamant. They believe that no, you cannot say your prayers on your seats. You have to put every effort and attempt to say your prayers in the aisle or exit row or even the serving places. Some even go to the extent that some washrooms are big in size. You can say your prayers there. But there is a difference in opinion. As I said Muhammad Rizvi here believes you don't need those kind of things. Just if you are in exit row or if you are flying in a Muslim flight which has a section for prayers, fine. Otherwise, just sit, say your prayers in the seat, designated seat. That's enough, right? What is more important, most important, brothers and sisters, is that it is essential that a Muslim does not face unnecessary harassment or profiling by airline crew or passengers or security officials. So if by saying your prayers, you are put in a position that they are going to harass you, they are going to, for example, take you out of the flight, right? And go through all those kind of hassle. You don't need that. Islam does not require these kind of things. Don't try to be an extremist and say, no, I want to say my prayers, come what may. No, that's not required. What is important that I want to say my prayers within the time, respectfully. Don't forget, prayers is for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's a worship between you and God. You are just showing your servitude to Almighty Allah, who is the Lord. So there is no need to go through, you go out of your way whereby later on you are profiled or you are harassed by the crew. That should not happen. So try to study it. Always use wisdom and study the situation. It's very important, right, to keep this in mind. The next slide, spiritual aspects of ziyarat. Now this was as you are flying, what to say, right? Now inshallah, many of us go to Medina first and then go to Makkah. Majority of them do like that. Only a few of us, for example, who got limited time, or depending which caravan you are going to, they'll take you to Makkah first, and then you'll go to Medina. So since majority of us go to Medina first, our discussion here is about ziyarat first. The spiritual aspects of ziyarat. What should be our niyat? It's very important that we are going there to perform our Hajj, which is wajib, once in the lifetime. Even if, for example, if the niyat is of niyabat or mustahab or mafi dhimma, in all this case, it is for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's very important. It's a worship, right? What are we trying to achieve? Ask this question. As you are going for Hajj, as you are preparing for Hajj, since we're doing it, what are you trying to achieve? First, most important is that is a wajibat, an obligation which is required on me. Once in a lifetime, I would like to perform that in obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As the first ayat we discussed earlier, for the sake of Allah. So it is important that Hajj is for Allah, right? What is the significance of visiting the Haram? Also ask this question, that we are going to these holy places, Haram in Makkah, Haram in Medina, Masjid Nabawi in Medina, Masjid al-Haram in Makkah. What are the significance? Try to learn and benefits of those. It will give you that special feeling, because you realize that you're in a holy place. How can that trip help me spiritually? How can it enhance my spirits? Ask this question and try to answer and find the answers to that and see that you follow those. Reflect on the passage as you go for ziyarat within Medina, right? Whether you go to Al-Baqi, whether you go to Masjid Nabawi where the Prophet is there, and also according to some reports, Bibi Fatima is there. We recite this phrase, right, with this passage. So read this thing, memorize it. Every time you go to Medina for prayers also, recite this thing as you are going. Bismillahi wa billahi wa fi sabilillahi wa ala millati rasulillahi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Rabbi ighfirli warhamni wa tub alayya innaka anta tawwabur rahim. Right? So this is what we are recommended. Try to memorize. In fact, from now, try to read until that memorize. So you don't need, for example, to take a book, or if you forget your book, you can just read this thing. We also say that if possible, because one of the etiquette of dua is that when you pray, also include others in your prayers, right? So use a form which is for majority instead of singular plural. Just use the plural form, right? So if you can change, for example, say Rabbi ighfirli. Now, if possible, say Rabbi ighfirli waliwalidayya walilmu'minina warhamna wa tub alayna innaka antat tawwabur rahim. That means Bismillahi wa billahi wa fi sabilillahi wa ala millati rasulillahi Rabbi ighfirli waliwalidayya walilmu'minina, right? Warhamna wa tub alayna innaka antat tawwabur rahim. So it is the same thing, but the second word form is a plural form. So you are praying Rabbi ighfirli, oh Allah, forgive me. Waliwalidayya, and forgive my parents. Walil mu'minina, and also forgive other believers. Warahamna, right, and have mercy on us. Watub alayna, and turn to us repentantly. So you are using the plural form. That'd be even better. But even the first phrase is fine if you can do that. But this is just good thing that as we are going there, as you know, people would know that you are going for Hajj. Many people say, please also pray for us. This is how you can include them. Niyat and objective ziyarat. Purify your intention. Having ikhlas is very important, right? Sincerity. The next slide will talk about hadith on that. So try to make sure that we should always keep this in mind, that we are doing for the sake of Allah. The ziyarah also should be for the pleasure of Allah and the Ahlul Bayt. For example, people sometimes visit to say, oh, I'm now going to be called Haji Hasanayn, or no, Zair or Zawar, no. Or they are joining so and so from other caravan. So sometimes people say, oh, I want to go, oh, no, I'm only going to Hajj because if you ask somebody why you are here, you say, oh, my brother was coming, my friend was coming, no, or somebody else was coming, I joined. Those are secondary things. But don't forget that your main reason is that you are actually here, because you are required to know for the sake of Allah. Spend, or sometimes, oh, I have some holidays. Instead of going to London or Switzerland or Kashmir or Africa, why don't I go to Makkah or Medina or Karbala or Najaf? So it's just spending your holidays. That should not be the main reason. The main reason, of course, is for the sake of Allah. Right? Look at this beautiful hadith. I'm not going to say, just read it very quickly so we can go to the next slides. Just look at this hadith from the 6th Imam regarding sincerity. Surah 67 Al-Mulk, ayat number 2, right? الذي خلق الموت والحياة ليبلوكم أيكم أحسن عملا. Imam says it does not mean one of you whose deeds are most numerous, but one who is more rightful in his conduct. And in this rightness is nothing but the fear of Allah and sincerity of intention. And fear, sincerity of intention, sincerity of intention. Then he added, to persevere in an action until it becomes sincere is more difficult than performing the action itself, you can see. So it's quite interesting. Imam realizes performing the Hajj, performing of Umrah, performing of, for example, Sa'i is easier than maintaining the sincerity during Tawaf, during the sincerity during Sa'i, right? And sincerity of action lies in this that you should not desire anyone to praise you for it except Almighty Allah. The intention supersedes the action always, right? So keep this in mind. Niyat. When you do the niyat, you can see in it's Makan Makhlaq, Dua Makan Makhlaq, which is Dua number 20 in Saif al-Jadiyah. Imam says the fourth, Wantahi bi niyati ila ahsan niyat. Oh Allah, take my intention to the best of intentions. So make sure that our intentions we can rise to the best of what intention. For example, here Sheikh Saduq says in Ilal Sharia, Ilal Sharia, Samitu Abul Hasan al-Rida Yakul, right? A reporter says that I heard the eighth Imam, Abul Hasan al-Rida, saying, Yakul, Inna likulli imamin ahadan fi unuki awliya'ihi wa shiyati. إن من تمام الوفاء بالعهد وحسن الأداء زيارة قبورهم ومن زارهم رغبة في زيارتهم وتصديقا بما رغبوا فيه كانوا أئمة شفعاهم يوم القيامة. See, beautiful hadith, right? See what Imam says. The eighth Imam says, for every Imam, لكل إمام أحدا في عنق أولياء. We who are the Shia of Imams, on our neck there is a pledge, there is a covenant towards the Imam. وَإِنَّ مِن تَمَامِ الْوَفَاءِ بِالْعَهْدِ حُسْنُ الْأَدَاءِ ذَاتِ قُبُورِهِمْ. One way of just fulfilling this covenant, that pledge which we have with the Imam, one way of fulfilling that is by going to do ziyarat of them, as you do, for example, go to Medina, right? And then Imam says, فَمَنْ زَارَهُمْ رَغْبَةً فِي زِيَارَتِهِمْ. When you visit him and your desire is just for visitation there, that's your main intention. وَاسْتَصْدِيقًا بِمَا رَغِبُوا. And you are sincere in what you are desiring, right? كَانُوا أَئِمَّتُهُمْ شَفَعَاءَ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ. If that is your case, then the same Imam you visited him, whether in Karbala, whether in Mashhad, whether in Najaf, right, whether in Medina, those Imam are going to become your shafa, your intercessors on the day of judgment because of your sincerity, right? So keep that in mind, that this is what we are required. These are again, so much reward is there visiting Medina, but we will just not discuss this thing. My only fear is that we'll run short of time. So these slides will be posted. You can later on read them. It's very easy. Just what are the reward of visiting Medina? In the same way, also next slide also talks about visiting Medina is the reward is Jannat, right? Just going to Medina with all these conditions, if you are going to maintain, then the reward is that of Jannat. Right? What to recite also in Medina? It's very important that you know. But just I like to share with you this. This is the ziyarat taught by the sixth Imam, right? As he is reciting this ziyarat, visiting his grandfather Rasulullah. See what he says. Ya Muhammadu inni atawajju ila Allahi Rabbi wa Rabbuka bika liyaghfira li dhunubi. Keep this in mind, because sometimes people tend to forget the focus. They go to the Imam forgetting that what we are doing there. They go to the Prophet. They believe that that is itself a focus. No. See what Imam says. Ya Muhammadu. This is the sixth Imam doing the ziyarat of Rasulullah, his great-grandfather. Ya O Muhammad. Inni atawajju ilallah. I have turned to Allah, your Lord and my Lord, through you, bika, so that He forgives my sin. Do you see that? It's not that Rasulullah forgives your sins. It's not that Imam forgives your sin. It's not that Bibi Fatima forgives your sins. Allah is the one who is going to forgive your sin. You are just using the Imam and the Prophet as a wasila, right? Bika, you can see, through you. That means my prayers and my focus and my beseeching and my pleading is to Allah. Through whom? Through Rasulullah whom I'm visiting. Through whom? Through Bibi Fatima I'm visiting. Through whom? Through the Imams buried in Baqi. So do you see this thing? So brothers and sisters, keep this in mind. This only happens when people have not recited the ziyarat with meaning. They reach there and they are so much overwhelmed and mesmerized that they sometimes forget the focus. So the focus, is Allah. We are visiting Allah, but we are just visiting Allah and using the Aimma and Rasul as the means to get near to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Again, you can see this is the dua of the fourth Imam, right? How Muhammad become says, Allahumma inni asbatu la amliku nafsi khayra ma arju laha wa la atba'u anha sharra ma hadaru alayha, right? Oh Allah, I find that I do not have the power in myself to attain the good I hope for, nor do I have the power to avoid the harm I fear, right? Wasmatul umuru biyadika wala fakira afkaru minni inni lima anzalta ilayya min khairin fakir. So beautiful. See what Imam says. And I find that all affairs are in your hand. Who? In Allah's hand. And that there is none more needy than I. And then Imam quotes this ayat from Surah Al-Qasas, ayat number 24, which was recited, this phrase was recited by Nabi Musa. A beautiful phrase, right? He said, Inni lima anzalta ilayya min khairin fakir. I am in need of that good that you have given to me. So even there, as you are reaching in Medina or in the Baqi or in the Haram of Rasulullah, you are there, you are saying to Allah that I am in need of that good which you give me at this holy place. But you can see the focus is who? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So brothers and sisters, keep this in mind, that the Aimma and the Prophet are the means of getting near to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. These are some of the du'as. Again, I don't want to spend much time. We only have about 7 to 8 minutes before we end this thing. So I will just let you to read this thing as you get the slides from on our side. Okay. We continue. Essentials of all the holy places. All the holy places you visit, ensure that your wajibat are performed. This is most important. Brothers and sisters, certain things are wajib. Namaz is wajib, right? Maintain your wudu and taharat is wajib. As you are doing, for example, once you do the niyat, then tawaf is wajib. The namaz of tawaf is wajib. Sa'i is wajib, right? Halak, or in the beginning, it will be just taksir is wajib. Then later on, for example, halak or taksir, whatever you want to do, those wajibats are mentioned is important. A lot of zikr recite the Quran. It is mustab to complete reciting Quran whilst you are in Makkah. Now I know, I really realize that maybe it's not possible. Then what do I suggest? There are two things. One is, for example, once you reach Makkah, just within your group or your family, you can say, for example, 10 of you, 5 of you, 6 of you can divide. Let us together complete the recitation of Quran. So you give, for example, certain siparas to few of you, and then you take certain siparas and you can divide. That's one way of completing. Second way is, for example, from the time you just take off from your city, whether it is Toronto, New York, Orlando, London, Dubai, whatever it is, you take it from your city until you come back. You are on the trip of Hajj. You can start reciting throughout that. So that way, perhaps also you can recite entire Quran or half of it, and the other half can be reciting by your partner or your spouse or anybody for that matter. Right? So try to do that. Is recommended. No? Recite the Quran. The zikr we cited earlier, 5 zikr, right? Try to recite again. Reflection and pondering over the holy sites. Once you are in Medina, you are in Makkah, you are in Arafat, you are in Mina, you are in Muzdalifah, all those places. Try to reflect and ponder. These are the holy places. Every prophet has been here. Every imam has been here. Every wali of Allah has been here. The great ulama have been here. I am also so fortunate to be at that place, right? So keep that in mind. It's very special. Try to reflect and ponder all those things. No? Visit the historical places, sites which are there, and know the importance. Make sure that you go there with somebody who has the knowledge to give you some history, or you read yourself. On Medina, for example, when I did my first Hajj in 1983, and last did my Hajj in 2014, between those 83 and 2014, things have changed so much. In 1983, when I went to Medina, I recall almost visiting about 30 places for outside Ziyarat. In 2014, they took us to only 3 to 4 places. So government has disbanded and closed some of the places. Things have changed so much. So if you can get somebody who has that what historical idea can take you other places is important because it is really what enriching. It will enrich your knowledge and quite interesting. Try to meet as many Muslims as possible. Nowadays, for example, we go with caravans. We go with people whom we know, your friends, your companions, your family. This is a good side, right? But the downside to that is that we are always within our people. No, that should not be the case. Hajj is the best opportunity to meet Muslims from all over the world. Try to make a point. Every time you go to the Haram, right, make sure somebody is right to you and person besides him. So two to three people on your right, two to three people on your left, two to three people in front of you, those are sitting behind you, right? Just circle around you as you are sitting for namaz. You can easily meet 10 people there and there. If you do it every time like that, you'll meet 10 new Muslims every time you go for prayers. Do that. Just say Assalamu alaikum. And English is the most common language many people understand, even if they can't speak. So you can just say, I'm coming from Canada, I'm coming from the US, I'm coming from this country, so on, this country, UK or Europe, right? They'll be intrigued, especially if they've not been in the West, right? And they will try to befriend you. So do that, try to meet Muslims. Also take necessary rest. Listen to your body. When the body requires rest, do that. Otherwise, when you are in Arafat and Mina, for the Hajj, right? Hajj Tamattu, when you are there, you'll be there for 2.5 days. That's a long period. You'll be in the state of Haram. You'll be in state of Haram, sorry. Right? And then there are certain requirements, and you may not be able to rest well. So then at the time when you are supposed to be fresh and mentally prepared and spiritually in the best state, you are not. Why? Because you have been spending so much time in Medina, in the Haram, that your body got tired by the time you reach Makkah when you start your wajibat. That should not be the case. If your body requires rest, do that. It's very important. Taking of gift back to home, to your family, to your friends, to those, for example, who also gifted you or prayed for you, is a good practice, is mustab also, right? But make sure that you don't spend a lot of time in Makkah and Medina just to go and buy gifts. I would advise people, spend only one afternoon, that's enough. Just one afternoon should be enough to get some gift. After all, everybody has got, most people have what you are going to take them, right? It's just a symbolic that you remember them, you are bringing this thing. So your time is important, not that you go there every day and then go to the market and start negotiating the best price. You're not going there for shopping, you go for Hajj. These are some of the old pictures, which inshallah will be posted on our slides when you go there. How to derive, the word derive is missing there on the slide. How to derive spirituality. These are the few points, and I will end here and take the questions after that, although we have just reached 24 slides. One of the ways which I have benefited a lot of deriving spirituality is those are du'as, recommended du'as by Amir Mu'mineen when you perform wudu, when you are just gargling, when you are just rinsing your mouth, when you are clearing your nose, when you are washing your face, when you are washing your right hand, left hand, right? There are certain du'as, I'm sure these are available in your masajid, also in the books. Those du'as are really good. If you read them, understand them, it really trains, because it talks about all the time about hereafter. All the time in those du'as, the focus is about hereafter to be saved from Jahannam. There is a beautiful dialogue between Imam Sajjad al-Islam and Shibli. Again, if you go to Al-Islam, or if you just go to Google and write dialogue between Imam Sajjad and Shibli, you'll find that a number of sites has that thing. Read that dialogue completely. It's really enriching. Spiritually, it really helps. Imam really prepared his companion Shibli, who had come from Hajj. Imam is asking him at every stage, did you do this thing? If you did this, for example, when you put on ihram, did you think this way? Do you bring to your mind such things? Those really help, right? If Hajj trip requires so much preparation, imagine the preparation of the Akhirah. Always keep this in mind, That just for Hajj, which nowadays, for example, will take you 15 days, 20 days, depending where you are flying from, it requires all this kind of preparations and provisions and all this kind of readiness, right? Mental, spiritual, psychological, right? Financial, right? Then what about the hereafter, which is the longest trip, right? Then we also require preparation for that. Desert, for example, is like, can be compared as desert Mashhar, the day of Mashhar, for example. When you find the desert of Arafat in Muzdalifah, thousands of people are there. You can also remember the day in the hereafter, the Mashhar. Ihram, when you wear Ihram, it can remind you that, for example, as if I'm wearing my kafan. No? So as if it's an opportunity for me, that as if I'm wearing my Ihram, kafan, but Allah is giving life, right? You are at the holy place where the prophets, imams, millions of Muslims have been. Do we really deserve this? Ask this question. Hasnayn, I am such a low person. I'm full of sins, right? I'm such a, for example, person full of sin. I don't have that status. I don't deserve that. But even then, Allah has granted me this opportunity to be at this holy place. This kind of thoughts will make you humble and be spiritual, right? Now, of course, the next slides, which may take time, but very quickly, that people are of the opinion, wrongfully, that since we are going to Medina and Mecca, the Imam who lead the prayers in Masjid Nabawi, the Imams who are going to lead the prayers in Masjid al-Haram, the Imams who are leading the prayers in Masjid al-Quba, the Imams who are leading prayers in other places, right? They are non-Shias. Not only that, they are non-Shias, they are Wahhabis. Some of the Wahhabis, have a hatred against Shias, unfortunately. So can we say namaz behind them? And the answer is yes. You can say namaz behind them. All mujtahids say that you can say namaz behind them. There is no exception, number one. Number two, some mujtahids in fact say you can say namaz with them normally, like you would say behind the Shia Imam, and your namaz okay. Some mujtahids say no, you can say the namaz behind them. For example, Ayatollah Sistani says you can say namaz behind them, but the niyat would not be of Jamaat. The niyat would be of ittiba. Ittiba, that means you are going to follow the Imam in action. You won't go to ruku before him. You won't get up from the ruku before him. You won't go to sajda before him. You won't get up from sajda before him. You will not start the second rakat before him. So you'll follow in action. But when it comes to recitations, you recite all your recitations the way you want, even including surahs. So that's not ittiba, right? So you'll keep that in mind. You'll keep in mind the timings. All the timings when they say their Fajr prayers, when they say their Zuhr prayers, when they say the Asr prayers, when they say the Isha prayers, you can join them. The only time when you have to be careful is Maghrib prayers. Maghrib prayers, they start at sunset. We have to wait until the night appears, the darkness appears, right? In that case, what you have to do, just watch, try to look at your watch. The moment azan begins in Makkah or Medina, Allah Akbar, and by the time Imam says Allah Akbar of Maghrib namaz, between the first Allah Akbar of azan and the Allah Akbar of the Imam when he begins the namaz, if 12 minutes have passed, then you are safe, and you can say Maghrib namaz. If, for example, if that namaz starts before 12 minutes, then you will still say namaz with them out of respect, but then you repeat your namaz because you said before time. Okay, so just keep that in mind. This is but of course, some mujtahids also differences. So if you are doing the qid of other than Ayatollah Sistani, then you can just check with the local scholar. So keep that in mind. And the third point, which is important here, as far as if you say namaz with them, with the Sunni imams, is that when they do zikr, for example, they say Allahu Akbar, then they remain silent for some time before they say Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. So now what do you do in between, right? You just say Allah Akbar with that, okay, and then you can start your Bismillah and recitation, even for example if he has not started. And then, for example, if he has You finish your Surah Al-Hamd and other surah, but he reads long passages from those other ayat, right? What do? You have three choices. One is just listen to the Imam saying Quran and concentrate. That's fine. You finish your Surah Al-Hamd and other surah, and he's still reciting. You can just listen to him and concentrate. Or second thing is you read with him that Quran. For example, let's say he's reciting from some surah which is your favorite. He's reciting Surah Yasin. He's reciting passage from Surah Al-Baqiyah. He's reciting surah, for example, Mulk, or any surah which you are familiar with, so you can follow him. So you can do that. You can just recite with the Imam slowly, because in namaz, besides your surah, recitation extra Quran is allowed. Okay, so that's why. The third thing is, which is the safest and the best thing to do, is once you have finished your Surah Al-Hamd and the other short surah, and now the Imam continues reciting certain things, you can recite zikr, any zikr. Subhanallahi, walhamdulillahi, wa la ilaha illallah akbar, or salawat, or istighfar, or for example, dua of Nabi Yunus, or la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah, or just ya subhanallah. You can just recite zikr. And the same applies. You know, if you go to ruku, if you go to sajda, if you do tashahud, if you finish your zikr, what is required, but they are still in ruku, they are still in sajda, Imam takes longer than your zikr, during all this time, you can just recite zikr. If you follow these rules, brothers and sisters, right, then your namaz is okay. You don't need to repeat your namaz. Not only that, the best part is you get the sawab of reciting namaz jamaat with all those millions of Muslims in the holiest place. Imagine for a moment that you are in Medina or you are in Makkah and the Imam who's leading the prayer is a Shia Imam. He's leading you. How much sawab you'll get? And there are thousands of Muslims there. For example, Masjid Nabawi, when you go there, inshallah, don't forget us in your prayers. When you go there, please remember us. Once you reach there, during the namaz time, there are 600,000 Muslims there. That Masjid Nabawi, the main floor, the first floor, the second floor, the courtyard, everything can take 600,000 Muslims, worshippers. No, so you are one of them. So in a namaz jamaat where so many Muslims are there, how much sawab would be, right? So if you follow those rules which we told you, then your namaz is okay. You get the reward of namaz jamaat, and you don't need to repeat your namaz. I hope that is very important. With that, we will end today's presentation. Sorry, we cannot continue with the other slides, but if you have any questions, you can chat there. We'll try to answer those questions. People can just write the question there. We'll be able to read. There's a facility that you can just chat. Any questions? Okay. So if you don't have any questions, then we just move the slides very quickly. You can just have a look at them. Okay. Very good. Can we read Qaza Namaz without more there? Very good question. That means you are assuming that you can do there without more. Very good question, sister. Okay. This is that, do we require more there or not? Now, again, many mujtahids believe that, first of all, don't take more there. It is advisable never take more or turba with you there. Why? Because the Wahhabis and also other Muslims believe that we are worshipping those more. Instead of worshipping, doing sajda on them, they think that we are doing sajda to those more. So don't take them, because some of them will take it from you and then throw it away in the garbage or even break in front of you. So don't do that. In fact, Ayatollah Khomeini marhum used to say it's haram to take more there. Okay, so that's one thing. Secondly, do you need to check? So what we advise, you can take your musalla, your sajjada, your janamaz. In that you can put a small mat there, piece of mat there. I wish I had brought the picture here. And then just you can say your namaz, although there are carpets there, but you can say your namaz in that small prayer mat. Because even the local people there, although there are prayer mats, there are carpets there, but I've seen many local people come with their own musalla, their own janamaz. So you can take also your own janamaz, which is not very broad, it should be just slim, because if you take a very broad, the people are going to stand on it. And then in that janamaz, if you can just put a small mat, then you can say namaz there. There will not be any problem. Okay. Or if you find a place whereby there is no carpet, that's okay. If both of these are not okay, then you can say namaz on the carpet. It's okay. Now the question sister asked, if you're saying your qaza namaz there, can you do without this more? Will that be okay or not? It's a very good question. I will never come across this question. Again, is that yes, if there is no place that which is without carpet, or if you forgot your musalla, if you don't have musalla, it should be fine. But I would definitely take a precaution. In other words, I will make a point that I'll take my janamaz, my musalla, my prayer mat, which has a small piece of mat there stitched near the more. I'll do that for that. Any other question? Thank you for that question. It was not useful. Any other questions? Or pleasure. In fact, please pray for us. If some of you, yes, go ahead. The question. What are the questions? I cannot see. You added the questions, but I cannot. Okay. Good. Okay. Various dates of Eid we have in the West. Yes. What about there? As far as Ayatollah Sistan is concerned, and many Mujtahids are concerned, you can follow the Eid declared by Saudis. That will be fine. No, that will be okay. Even if, for example, back home they'll be doing Eid on a separate day, you are allowed to follow that Eid. That's okay, and inshallah it'll be accepted. Any other questions? Have I missed? Maybe if I missed your question, you can type it again because I don't see the. Yes, Hasanayn, what is your question? I'm not able to see the questions. If there is any other question, Hasanayn, you asked some question. Was some question? Okay, hold on. Uzma Nakri, what is your question, Uzma? About Khilafat of Faqih. Do we read full Qasam? Yeah, very good question. Do we read full namaz? Because again, now all these questions, what you're asking is kafalat. Kafalat. Okay. All these questions I can see you're asking is about fiqh, about jurisprudence. Now keep this in mind that everything will depend about your mujtahid, that whose taqlid you are doing. Okay. Even if I were to answer, if your mujtahid is different, then your marja is different, then answer may be different, right? But one thing about qasr or qaza namaz or qasr namaz or full namaz, in the entire city of Makkah, In the entire city of Medina, you are allowed to recite qasr namaz if you are going to be there less than 10 days, or even full namaz. If you are going to be there more than 10 days, of course, we'll say full namaz. But if you are going to be there less than 10 days in Medina or Makkah, then whether in the haram or if you are going to say your namaz at your hotels or residence, then you can still say qasr namaz or full namaz. It's better to say full namaz because you are in the holiest place and you'll be reciting more rakat and more zikr and more ibadat. But if you are going to be there less than 10 days, then you will, of course, say either qasr or qaza. I didn't understand about the kafalat. Exactly, what is your question about kafalat? Are you trying to say that about niyabat? Can you just try to tell me exactly what your question is? Can you retype or? Oh, about sacrifice. Okay. Yes, that it is better that you get your animal sacrifice there. But then what happens is that there are a lot of needy people right outside the country. We realize this thing. So what is recommended is that of course you give your sacrifice there also, but then the sacrifice usually is divided. The qurban is divided into three parts. One part is you eat yourself. One is given to a fellow believer, friend, and one part goes to the poor person. So what do you do? Right? Is that when you go for qurbani, for example, you can say to your companion, to your spouse, or to your friend that I'm gifting my 1/3 to you, and he's gifting 1/3, his 1/3 to me, right? So that way, you're gifted 1/3, 1/3. And then, of course, your own part, if they can bring a little part of the meat back, and then if they can cook there, and let me just answer this question, then I'll read your question because otherwise I'll miss your question, okay? So then you just take part of it, just a little part of it you can eat. Now what remains is 1/3 has to go to the poor. For that, it is recommended, highly recommended, that whatever the cost of qurbani is, let's say if the qurbani cost $100, $100 US, right? So, or 100, for example, 110, whatever it is, just take 1/3 of that, right? Let's say qurbani is $120, so 1/3 is $40, right? Take $40, and then that kind of $40 you can give it to poor in Pakistan, in Africa, and ask somebody to buy with that meat or something and give it to poor. So that can be done. So at least 1/3 of the price of qurbani can be given to some of the organizations in Pakistan, in Africa, other places, whereby they can buy the qurbani and give it to the poor people. But as far as your part is concerned and your friend's part is concerned, you can just exchange. Hope that is clear as far as qurbani is concerned. Yeah, there are other questions which I missed. If you can just type again, I can't see it. No, because what happens perhaps in this system, this new system, when you type the question, it appears on the screen, then it disappears very quickly. So if you have a question, just type, and then we'll read it. In the old system, we could see all the questions down there, but we cannot see here. Okay, 25 rules. These are the rules, of course, that you are supposed to stay away from haram during ihram. So it doesn't require you to be awake, but yes, you are to be aware of it. No, even if your niyat is when you do the ihram and you wear the ihram, the niyat is that all those things which are haram to be done, I'll stay away from that. That's okay. Yeah, it's okay if you scratch your feet whilst you are sleeping. That's okay. Again, I told you these are individual masalas, right? I'm sure that in your group there will be scholars who will guide you. There are so many masalas. We cannot cover here. Just generally, okay, that's fine that if you have to, for example, scratch your feet, be careful that when you scratch your feet, you do not bleed, right? Because that will bring about kafara. So those are things. But 25 things which are haram in the state of haram, you are supposed to know them. In fact, we have a slide here. Let me show you. We didn't reach there. We divided them into different groups. Yeah. For example, one thing, let me tell you before we end. See, this is a good slide. There is a what organization here? Imam. If you go to Imam, just see this slide, this site, www.imamus.org. If you go there, there is get answers. There are so many question answers there. You can visit there. You can also send a new. In the beginning of the month of Zil Hajjah, they say there's an organization in US known as Imam. The site is, you can see here, www.us.org/get answers. You see at the bottom, we are given that slide. Again, these slides will be posted. So that site, that URL you can find, they have so many question answers about Hajj. You can also send your own question if it's not mentioned there, and they'll answer. So keep that in mind. So there's one slide. Be careful. That is slide number, 28. Then this slide is there. For example, slide number. Here we've got. This slide 32. This is all those muharramat, things which are haram. And we have divided into A, B, C, D, E: affection, beauty, cloth, defense, and ethical. Actually, this division in categorization was done by Sheikh Murtaza al-Dina of Dar es Salaam. Some years ago, I had the opportunity to be with him in Hajj, with his group from Dar es Salaam, and then he shared with me these slides, so which is there also on our slides, which divides. So of course, you should have a general idea to stay away from these things. That will be enough. You don't need to have detailed idea. What's most important thing which we do commonly? For example, looking at the mirror, or applying of oil, or for example, keeping your feet open, or keeping your, whilst you are traveling, make sure that your head is not covered. These are certain things which are important. Or for example, you don't have to quarrel or lie or argue. These are the things which are important. Other things, of course, you will not even do. I don't expect anybody, for example, to look at somebody with lust and kiss, or na'udzubillah, perform the nikah or masturbation. Nobody will do these things. But certain things, for example, we do normally is face covering of the head, for example, or feet, or you use, for example, sometimes balm or mallam, or things. Make sure that you know the rules, when is required, when is not required. Okay, again, thank you very much. We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the opportunity given to us. Those sisters who are going for Hajj, they will be on the same site. If you just go 411B, there is a presentation on Hajj for sisters pertaining to masails on sisters, and this will be at 2:30 p.m. From 2:30 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. this afternoon. Again, today only. Same site, but 411B. Those of you who are registered, still not late, but those are just for the sisters, and they'll just pertain questions regarding issues regarding sisters. Thank you again. Please, those of you, if you can remember, do two things. Pray for us. Pray that we can continue serving the needs of Hajjaj. If you remember, please convey our personal salams to the Prophet in Medina, to Bibi Fatima in Medina, and the Imams al-Baqi. Imams al-Baqi, Imam Hassan, Imam Zain al-Abidin, Imam al-Bakir, Imam Sadiq al-Islam. Please convey your salams to them. وصلى الله عليه الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد